Welcome to the Non-Standard Podcast. I'm your host, Manny Lamson, and what you're going to find in these episodes is just how to improve your quality of leadership just 1% at a time. We don't cover very extreme things because you'll find out that leadership is about consistency, doing the basic things great, and understanding people at the utmost ability to help them get to where they need to go. So I always have a guest on my show, and these guests are going to provide you with some of the basics that they lead by, some of the examples throughout their life, their story. And then also we cover my leadership philosophy in there as well that has helped guide me in becoming a leader as well. So again, the intent here is just for you to learn. And I hope you do. And if you do, you know what to do. Just save, share, like, or follow, anything you got to do to continue this journey. I look forward to doing more and more of these episodes. And with that being said, let's get on with today's episode. This episode, I'm joined by my man Hayden. I saw him on TikTok because he talks a lot about just health and wellness over on the military. So he's currently in the Marines, but he's also an online fitness coach as well for active duty and veterans and physique development and just a lot of other life discipline stuff. And some of the things he reached out to me about that we had in common were accountability, doing what you said you were doing, and just discipline. Those are some of the core values that we had in common. And so I reached out to him to have him on the show. A little bit about him. Obviously, he's in the military. He's in the Marines right after he started working at a training squadron right out of schoolhouse. So that's where he's been, and that's where he developed the need for his business and for the military to sort of work hand in hand. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hayden is an amazing person. We have a great discussion. And again, if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to save, share, like, or follow the podcast. Reach out to me on anything else you'd like us to talk about. Welcome back, everybody. Just like you heard in the intro, I have my man Hayden here, and I'm super pumped for this. And it's always fun when I get these scheduled podcasts because Hayden and I, we sort of fell off, after we communicated, man, had to be like almost a year ago. It was a while that we just touched base. I reached out, and then, I always have like a little bucket list of people out there, and I saw a couple of your videos pop up every now and then. And I was like, all right, let's just try to throw this back out there, man. See if I can reel them in. And I appreciate you setting up the time and the call. And to keep you on schedule, and for everybody here, we are going to dive straight in. Most of you guys who have listened before understand the way we do this with the 3 H's: hometown, heroes, and hardships, just to get the juices going. We'll talk a little about career and then dive in just some great leadership traits that you brought to the table. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
I do appreciate you having me on. I do apologize it took me so long to get back to you. I'm usually not in my TikTok DMs. That's one of the reasons why I didn't see. He kept texting me over and over and over. And then the other day I woke up and I was looking at my TikTok and I was like, dude, this guy's texting me a lot and I haven't responded. So I was like, I'll just book the call right now. And then as you know, the next morning you woke up and saw it. And you're like, oh, cool. But I do appreciate having me on, man. I'm blessed to be here and I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, let's get into your 3 H's then.
All right, man. So, hometown, I'm from Roy, Utah, as far as raised in Utah. And I'm just going to say this because a lot of people ask. I'm not Mormon, okay, brother? I just have to say that. A lot of people ask me whenever I tell them I'm from Utah, it's always their first question. I'm not Mormon. I love the Mormons. I have lots of great friends and family that are Mormon. Let's just get that out of the way. So, yeah, Roy, Utah, that's where I'm from. That's where I went to all my different schools growing up. 2 heroes. I have to say David Goggins. First off, that was truly like the person that kind of transformed my life. He was the first person I saw that articulated something that I felt, but I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know how to bring that out of myself, but it was there. It was locked away. David Goggins brought that shit out of me, and he set me up. He didn't set me up, but knowing who he was and what he did set me up to make some serious changes in my life. And the suffering and discipline that he goes through, I learned that's what builds your confidence and your identity. So just his mindset around pushing past perceived limits had a very big influence on how I approach training in life. And that was also what inspired me to join the Marine Corps, was David Goggins' military background. Realizing that if I wanted to do something great, then might as well do something great and sell myself to the military and see what happens from there. So I'd say David Goggins very much changed the trajectory of my life. Number 2, I would say, is Marcus Aurelius. So Stoic philosopher, Roman emperor, and his book Meditations was just fabulous. I read it back in 2022, so a little bit after I had kind of got checked into the Marines and was going through the schoolhouses and whatnot. Actually read Meditations from front to back, and that's kind of what opened up. And this might sound kind of funny when I say this. This kind of opened the door for religion for me personally, because not being Mormon growing up in Utah, I thought that religion was being LDS and being Mormon. I genuinely didn't know what Christianity was until I left home. So, and I know this like sounds like I'm going in a circle, but Marcus Aurelius, the way that he wrote and reading through these passages that you have to decipher and try to decide, how does this apply to my life? That opened the door for exploring the Bible and Christianity and Jesus. But just about responsibility, self-control, righteousness, focusing on what you can control, having a bigger purpose and giving it to something else, just had a very big influence on how I approach both training and life in general. So Marcus Aurelius, David Goggins. And then one hardship growing up, I had and still have a very complicated relationship with my father due to addiction, alcoholism, and instability. And that really just forced me to grow up early. I know I may not look it, but I'm only 22. A lot of people are surprised when I say that. I'm only 22 years old. What I experienced with my father kind of forced me to grow up a lot earlier, which I think led me to join the Marine Corps, which made me grow up even quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, just having that very off relationship with my father forced me to grow up and take responsibility for my own direction that I want to go in life. And during that time, the gym became a big outlet for me, gave me structure and something constructive to channel that pain into. So just having that experience really shaped how I approach leadership today by trying to lead in a way that provides the stability and the accountability and an example that I didn't feel like I had. So that's my hardship. I think that covers all the 3 H's, man.
Yeah, one thing I'll ask, when did you, I guess, find out about David Goggins? Just curious on like, when did he come into your life?
Yeah. So I had heard a little bit about him when I was, I want to say, in junior high. I remember my brother and my stepdad were talking about this book that they had read. I don't care about read it. I was playing sports and stuff. I actually dove into David Goggins when I was working for a landscaping company. Like it was like after high school. Essentially, I was kind of bouncing around jobs. I was mowing my aunt's house just for her, and then I was working for a landscaping business as well. And I was just listening to podcasts whenever I was mowing lawns. That's just what I like to do. And I can't recall. I don't think I heard him on a podcast. I think I literally saw his book on my mom's Audible account, and I just listened to the book. I was like, "Oh, I've heard of this book before. I don't even know who David Goggins is." Well, let's just dive into it. Turns out this book was actually a podcast / book. I don't know if you've ever listened to the David Goggins book on Audible. Can't hurt me, but it's basically a mix between a podcast and a book. And that led me down the path of looking into Marcus Luttrell, Lone Survivor, and stuff like that. So just mowing lawns and needing something to do and something to listen to while I was doing it, came across David Goggins. And I remember I was like, oh shit, I need to make some changes. I need to do it soon. So
yeah, that's I've heard the audiobook because he tells it, right? Isn't that how it goes?
Yep, it's him and another narrator as well. The narrator goes through the book, but in between chapters and whatnot, they'll come together and do a podcast, like a little mini podcast session, talking about chapters.
Yeah, I think it was probably about the same time because it sounds like she said, high school, maybe like 4 years ago for you. It was just about when I found David Goggins. I was doing 75 hard when I first started it in 21. And that was the first book I read. And dude, it was just like, I was like, where have I been? And I tell a lot of people it's the worst and best book you'll read because one, it just teaches you how the body works, but then it also shows you how much of a pussy you are, like in all aspects of life. Like I was literally like, dude, what am I complaining about, dude? This guy just like and it just like you, like it clicked with me, man. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's more I have to do. I loved hearing about like the governor and all those things in your mind, and how it just like tries to play tricks on you with anything you try to do. And I was just like, this is insane. And so yeah, just a phenomenal. And I think what's unfortunate is people always see like the extreme of David Goggins, because that's obviously what he does very well. But when you do read his book, you understand like there's a reason for it, like
Oh
there's a
yeah,
reason why he is so, it's passion, man. Why he's so passionate about doing those hard things, suffering through his body with like no reason. Like there's no reason a guy has to do the world or like try to attempt the record pull ups, right? Or do these 100-mile runs. It's just like he just knows it helps him.
yeah, yeah. And something that I was thinking about when you just um, said that is when you mentioned like the hardships he went through growing up. That was another big piece of it. Is yeah, I was in this place of feeling so sorry for myself. Like, oh my, I have a bad father, and for that reason, life sucks. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, look at David Goggins' father. And like, you're literally complaining
Mhm.
and bitching right now and using everything as an excuse to smoke pot, not care about your future, hang out with the wrong friends, not care about your health and fitness, drink alcohol, all these dumbass things that you're doing.
Yeah.
You're literally sitting in self pity because you think you have it so fucking rough. Am I going to swear on here? This is just how
Yeah,
it
you're good.
sounds
No, you're
sometimes.
perfect.
So, okay, okay, cool. Sorry, marine filter. Anyway, yeah, it's like you think you're so fucking special, but
Mhm.
look at what this guy went through and look what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Go do something with your life. What are you doing? So, dude, just awesome book. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It will fuck you up in the best way possible.
Exactly. It's one of the books I usually just give to airmen when they're trying to leave or something like that, or I do like a book when airmen leave to PCS. It's one of my top books. That and Legacy are the ones I sort of bounce back and forth between handing people, just to like, hey, dude, like go lock in, like this will help.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so obviously you said you're 22. You've been in the Marines a few years. Um, so it sounds like, has fitness always been like even like as soon as you joined, or were you pretty big into it before too, right? Or did you just lock in? You joined the Marines, you talked about your job, and then you just like found that passion to help you do better.
Yeah. So are you like mainly asking just about like the timeline here between like joining the military, getting into fitness, starting the
Yeah.
business? Like,
Yep.
okay, okay. So it kind of goes up and down. It kind of goes up and down. So after football season, I was a lineman in high school. So I was like 245, 250 pounds, very fat. And I was like, I don't need to carry this anymore. I'm not playing football anymore. Um, what do I do wrestling? So I started wrestling, and I lost. I got all the way down to 185 in one wrestling season. So I lost a lot of body weight very quickly. Um, when I got all this body fat off, I was like, oh wow, I actually kind of enjoy like bodybuilding. I think that's actually kind of cool. Um, because I lost all this body fat and I had trained really hard. I built a lot of muscle, but I was also fat. So losing all that body fat, I like saw my physique for the first time ever in my adult life.
Yeah.
I was 17, 18 at the time. So first time seeing my physique, I was like, okay, this is sick. Like, I definitely want to be like a personal trainer one day. I started writing. I still have the folders. There's like these little packets I have where I would write down workout programs from my friends. I would tell them their macros and, okay, go do this at the gym, track your weight at the gym, and then once a week, you guys bring your packets back to me, and I'll look through your packets and we'll like see how you guys did, make adjustments and stuff like that. Didn't work very well. They didn't follow it. I don't know because they gave them a piece of paper with a Google Doc program. So to be expected, but the passion was there. I was like, okay, I do want to be a trainer one day. Um, I come down to like join the Marine Corps, which was mainly inspired by like that oh shit moment in the David Goggins book. And I meet the recruiter, and homeboy is like basically telling me that I could be a personal trainer in the Marine Corps, like for the Marines. And I was like, perfect, sign me up. But what I didn't understand at that time was he wasn't talking about the way that I kind of perceived it. It was more so course fitness instructors, FFIs. I don't know if you guys have. I'm sure you guys have something similar. But that's what he's talking about. I didn't know that that wasn't going to be my actual job. That was like kind of what got me in the door. And then he's like, well, you can go be a crew chief. You could like shoot guns at helicopters. Like that'd be kind of cool. Right? And I was like, okay, whatever. Like I'm already doing this. I don't care. Like just let's just go. Let's just do this. Obviously, going through training, it's pretty hard to stay on track with being like a Marine in the schoolhouse for my MOS is quite a lot. You go through swim school, mechanic school, SEER school, flight school, and then you get stationed. So basically 4 different schoolhouses plus MCT and boot camp. So that was like over a year of me just going through training where moving around a lot and doing a lot of shit. So fitness kind of took a little bit of the back seat for a while where I was just eating at the chow hall, still going to the gym, but not really like tracking my macros and all that good stuff like I used to. And then I don't even know when it was, but I just started coaching people, man. It just kind of happened. I got my personal training certificate, which doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but I did get that done when I was in Pensacola, Florida, going through flight school, or not flight school, going through swim school. And when I got to like mechanic school, I started like wanting to coach people. I did like a makeshift programming. I found some software that I could use. Didn't really do anything. Nobody listened to me really. And I was like, okay, let's put that away for a while. And then I just started doing it, man. Like end of 2023, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Like I've tried this twice
Yeah.
and I haven't really succeeded in actually helping anyone get results. Let's like actually go into this now. And I just kind of went all in. Basically made no progress for like 6 months of my business. And then here we are now. Less than 3 years later, basically like a little over 2 years later, here we are. We got Hard Lifestyle and Bodybuilding, as you may know today.
Yeah, and one of the things I heard you mention, and this is how I was sort of doing my coaching with First Form and all that. You know, I've been with First Form for about 9 years, and for the first like 5 years, I didn't really do much. So I'm still active duty, but I was new to flying, and I told like First Form people like, hey, you know, I can rep your products. That's really all they really had early on. And then I've always wanted to obviously coach and do stuff like that. A couple years later, my coach calls me. He tells me to like pick it up, right? Do more. So I was like, okay, I do a little more, get a little better, and it starts to grow. But I started seeing that everybody around me do better and move up, and I'm like, man. So I kept having this excuse, like, well, it's because I'm in the military, I'm active duty. These guys aren't in, they don't know. Like, that's my reason I'm not succeeding. But then I heard somebody say, dude, like, if you want to have a business, you have to treat it like a business. Like you can't just do these things like half-assed and expect it like you can't expect it to grow. It doesn't work like that. It's like fitness or anything in life. If you want it to be great, you have to put in the work. And so I wasn't putting in the work, but for some reason I was waiting for good expectations, which is just like, dude, that ain't gonna happen. And so like just like you know, like last year, I was where I was like, all right, babe, like we'll file the LSC for Team Non-Standard. We'll do some sponsorships. You know, like obviously the profit always comes, you know, like that 30, 60, 90 concept of life, 30 days to do it, 60 days to build the habits, 90 days to see results or other people to notice it. You multiply that through other things. Like it could be a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. But that's how it is now. You know, like right now I'm in that grinding stage of just like, dude, I got to keep the head down, move, put in the work, right, to get the results. And that's just like, that's life. You have to put in the work. There are no shortcuts.
Yeah, man. I did the same thing at first. I treated it like a hobby.
Yeah.
Way too much. When I was in high school, I treated it like a hobby. When I was in the schoolhouse, I treated it like a hobby. It wasn't until I actually decided, no, I'm gonna succeed at this. I'm gonna start doing this shit for real. Once I started on that path, that's when I didn't actually quit. Turn it into something. So yeah.
That's nice. Well, cool. Let's transition. We're about halfway through. It's perfect. Into the 3 leadership traits you threw down. Lead by example, always be learning, and grit. And for most people out there, just to recage, my 4 are lead by example in all you do. To be selfless, you have to be selfish. Build relationships based off trust and care. And then challenge right in front of you, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So we're going to cover a few of those already. Lead by example. So just give somebody out there a snippet of why this is so important and how they can sort of do it maybe outside of PT, or why PT is one of the best ways to lead by example.
Yeah. I feel like I have a little bit of a weird take on leadership. I think it starts with being a little bit selfish.
Yeah.
Sounds crazy.
No,
This is my take on it. If you're not taking care of yourself, if you are not showing up for yourself, doing the things that you said you were going to do for yourself, that is going to bleed over, and you're not going to care when it comes to taking care of other people because you didn't take care of yourself first. And if you don't know how to take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. And that really ties into leading by example. Because if I want a Marine to not be fat anymore, if I want a Marine to start scoring better on their tests, if I want them to pass height and weight, I'm not passing my PFT and I'm looking like a badass and I'm not passing height and weight, why the fuck would I expect them to do the opposite? It doesn't make any sense at all. So I really think that not just with, and this obviously applies to leadership in the military, but also applies to what I do as a coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I expect any of the active duty vets that I coach, as well as the civilians that I coach, to listen to me and follow through with what I tell them to do if they don't know that I'm putting in the work beside them? Because then it becomes like a dictatorship. Like, hey, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing, right? I'm just telling you to do all these things, even though I'm not doing them myself. And there's actually a lot of coaches out there that are like that.
Dude, there's a lot.
There's a lot of leaders.
Especially in
There's
like
a lot of
personal
leaders
care.
out there.
Yeah. Or just overall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the military and in the fitness industry, there's a lot of people that don't lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of act like they do, but they know that they really don't.
Yeah. And and unfortunately, like obviously people think rank has its privileges to give them more leadership. But for those of us that really do care about leadership and understand the concept of it, the rank on your shoulder is more of like a supervisor manager thing, but you have to lead by example. And I've seen it on both ends, right? Being enlisted, now being an officer, but I've also seen it on the side where I wasn't leading by example, like I specifically remember when I was a young captain, like telling airmen like, hey dude, like go crush PT test, go get 100. And I was just getting like 92s, 93s, just settling with that. I wasn't controlling what I was eating. And that's why I'm always so passionate about it now when I tell people like, go get 100. And they'll like, the Air Force is ridiculous. People like chuckle when you say go get 100%. They're like, oh yeah, funny. And I'll be like, no dude, like go get a fucking 100%. Go try to get 100%. And then they'll pause and I'll be like, I say this because I've done it the past 5 years, multiple ways to where I know it's like, if I didn't know it's possible, I wouldn't be telling you to do it. Right. But I know it's possible. I've put in the work. And so they sort of like always have to pause and go, damn, dude, he's right. Maybe I should try a little bit harder. And usually when I tell them to try for 100%, it's like shoot for the moon, reach for or whatever that saying is, hit the stars or whatever. Like I just want them to do better than what they were expecting to do going into it. But the hardest thing with that, and I think you've seen it too, is, once you do establish that leadership by example, you have to do it all the time. That's what's really hard.
Yes. Yes, I do think that it has to be a standard that's maintained. But something else that I wanted to touch on that I really liked what you said is basically mentioning like, why would I expect you to go through this if I haven't gone through it myself or if I'm not doing it? I think that's so huge when it comes to leadership in the military. And when I say leadership, I'm talking about, yes, in the military, but also in coaching. And at this point, it's more so in coaching for me. Like, yes, I'm still in the Marine Corps. I'm still a sergeant of Marines, but I don't have Marines under me anymore. I just don't, because of my position, where I'm at, the squadron I'm at. It's just not a thing. Like, I don't have anyone in my MOS that is below me. I'm the most junior. It's me and a staff sergeant, and that's it. So it's a lot different from when I was in the fleet. But when it applies to coaching, I can't expect somebody to go through a difficult protocol if I'm not willing to go through a difficult protocol myself. Right. So if I'm bringing someone through some sort of health protocol, for example, to fix something that they have going on with their internal health or with their blood work, I can't expect them to go buy all these supplements, change all these lifestyle habits, change their diet if I'm not willing to do that myself. And I have done it. I've done a health protocol in the past. So I understand the stress. I understand the money that has to go into it. And that's a big part of being able to guide somebody else through something, is knowing the exact difficulties that that person's going to go through because you've been through it yourself. And now you actually have the credibility and the experience to guide them through it because you've experienced it yourself. I just think that's a huge part of this as well.
Yeah. And, one of the reasons it's always, I think, a benefit to have that sort of struggle is when you express it, you build that empathy, you build that trust with them, and they sort of, it's credibility, that's what it is. And a lot of people, unfortunately, now that, for both of us, they probably only see where we are now. They may just look at us and go, well, these guys are, they're in great shape. And it's like, dude, it was never like that, man. Like And that's what's very tough right now with this, way of like social media is things come and go so fast. Like we may share like a clip of our journey where we started and people miss it. And so they only see where we are now and they don't understand like, dude, like this isn't where we've been our whole time. Like we've all hit the bottom. We've bounced up, like Shia says it great on his podcast with John Berthrall that I love on the Real Ones, where he goes, dude, like winners, they hit the bottom, they get up and he phrases it differently, but that's what he talks about. Like that's life, like that's where you grow and you develop.
Yeah. People don't see you until you are
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
They don't see you in their way because who the hell wants to look at that? That's the story. That's the story, though. When they do fully understand where you started and where you're at now, makes things it's a lot easier to respect somebody when you know their goals.
Nice.
For sure.
The second one you brought up was always be learning. So bring that one up to now. The military is weird because a lot of airmen I talk to about this one, they will tell me like, "Oh, I'm reading my TOs, I'm doing this." But you even wrote it in yours. It's not just about like your job and your TOs and your AFIs and stuff like that. You mentioned always be learning on the outside, and one of the lines you wrote was, "If you aren't always learning, you're behind," and then that's how people get left behind as well. So talk a little bit about why that's so important to you.
Yes. So I'm really big on this because I remember when I first checked into my unit, which was, like I said, it's at the training squadron. I'm not even claiming that I'm some kind of war hero or like some guy that is doing something crazy in the military. Like, yes, I'm a crew chief. Yes, I fly in helicopters. It's a cool job. But there are other crew chiefs in the Marine Corps that are doing a hell of a lot more than I am. And I have no problem saying that and being honest about it. People comment on my posts about, I can't believe that this FRC crew chief is on here talking about leadership. Whatever. When I was in the fleet, something that they really drove home was you need to be able to pass this knowledge on so that that knowledge can get passed on again and again and again. Because yes, you can have people study the books and learn the technical knowledge that they're supposed to know, the technical publications that they're supposed to know for different maintenance options and different limitations for the aircraft and things of that nature. But it's a whole lot different coming from word of mouth in a actual applicable sense, right? You can, and this applies to anything, you can have all of the book knowledge in the world, but if you don't have that practical application knowledge, it doesn't matter. So being able to pass that practically applicable knowledge down to the juniors means that they're going to carry that with them and they're going to be able to pass it down to their juniors. So that knowledge isn't ever going to die, if that makes sense.
Yep. Nice.
So
yeah.
I think that's a big piece. And if you aren't always learning, like I said, you're behind. That's how people get hurt. That's how people get left behind. So if you aren't passing this knowledge down, people aren't going to have the best knowledge possible to do things as good as you did. If you are not giving them the best knowledge possible and passing it down, people can get hurt, left behind. This applies to coaching as well. If I'm not staying on top of my game and always learning about the new science that's coming out about different things that have to do with health and fitness, and I'm just doing things my own way always, then that's how people get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the reasons, so always be learning is like an asterisk top 4 of mine. I didn't make my cutoff for my leadership philosophy, but it's one that people like always bring up on the show with like one of the extra notes one, and I love it. And sometimes it's just as simple as, like you say, just listening to a podcast is the way to always be learning, right? I think they just overcomplicate it when I tell them they should be learning something else. They're like, oh, they think it's like a whole new job or something like that. Like, dude, I don't care if it's like learn how to write cursive or like just writing in a book again, or like just reading a couple pages from the Bible or learning a new language through Babbel. Like it's just something to, mentally build your growth there, because that way you're focusing on your fitness level and your mental capacity, and they all go hand in hand, and you just continue to develop there. It's just, it's so easy as well to be learning. That's why I'm like always baffled when I meet airmen now. I'm like, dude, what are you reading? And they're like, what? Like reading a book? And I'm like, yeah, dude, what the hell are you reading?
And all you have to do is just find something that you are interested in that doesn't have anything to do with your job in the military. And dude, you can literally make it a business. Like find something that you're interested in. If for anyone that's in the military that's listening to this, don't just be a person that stays at the barracks or stays on base and is just so focused on the mission that they forget who they are. Because having a little bit of individuality, I think, is important as a leader. It develops you in more ways than just getting the job done. It teaches you empathy. It teaches you compassion. It teaches you passion for teaching. Um, so yeah, like if you're into cars, that's one way to always be learning. Try to learn more about cars. Turn on podcasts.
Yeah.
Every single morning when I do my cardio, or in the evening when I do my cardio, I listen to a podcast or a course that has something to do with bodybuilding, health, and fitness knowledge. And it's like I enjoy doing that. I'm learning. I'm not just wasting my time doing cardio, like watching anime or something. Like I'm investing time, killing two birds with one stone, and I enjoy it. So it's a really easy habit to maintain. If more people just found something that they enjoyed, they could always be learning more, which is going to develop them into better leaders.
Yeah, one thing that it helped me with, it also helped me focus more on my job as well, because I was excited to be learning something else, like developing skills somewhere else. And it almost like re-blued me back into the B1, because I was like, my passion was still growing, even though it was outside the B1, but I was still motivated to be good in the B1. Instead of just like always B1, where you get burnt out or just overtired and you're just like, oh my God, I can't read anymore. Every time I went back to the B1, it's like I was learning something new. So it's like you're shifting your mindset of passion to job, and then the passion bleeds over to your job and helps you stay a little bit more involved too. That's what I noticed when I started like deep diving down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. No, I know we've been on this one for a while, but something else I want to add to that is avoiding burnout, right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of seeing it the opposite way now, where more so now it's, hey, I have a lot more clients now. There's a lot more work that I have to do for my coaching clients. I need to find things to learn about that don't have anything to do with coaching. Because if I'm just always 100%
Yeah.
24/7 focused on coaching, that is how you get burnt out. You have to have different avenues to relieve stress and find passion in other ways. And there's so many different ways you can do it. Even just going on nature walks, like that's such an easy thing that you can do. Go on nature walks and listen to a podcast that has nothing to do with your job. Easy way to always be learning and kind of get out of that work mode. And that's how you avoid burnout for sure.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good one. Then one of the follow-up ones you had is a good one as well. There's a good book on it too, but grit. And then the line you have in there is sustained effort over time obviously beats talent almost every time. So talk about some examples you've seen with grit and how, just anybody listening to the show or that's just nervous, like, because some people think like you either have it or you don't. And that's why I think David Goggins obviously is a great book to read, because he was just had a lot of troubles, and he just found out, man, like this grit is pretty powerful. Like it will do a lot for you. So speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. So grit. I'm gonna apply this to just what I said about sustained effort, right? If you have the ability to see things through even when it sucks, that is always going to be
Hmm.
your talent. Because somebody that's talented, they may be trying to grow at something and they're really good at it. But what's going to happen when they get knocked on their ass and they give up? If they don't have the grit, it doesn't matter. But you take somebody that maybe isn't super talented naturally at something, but they have like that heart, that passion, that grit, that drive. When they get knocked down, it's not going to bother them as much. Yes, it's still going to suck because damn, I got knocked down. But just like Rocky Balboa, it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get knocked down and still get back up, right? That's great. Um, which that movie is a huge inspiration for me as well. Um, which is also inspired by David Goggins because he talks about that movie as well. Anyway, yeah, man, great. You're gonna get knocked down. Who can keep going? Who can get knocked down and keep going? And talent doesn't do you anything any good there. If you're talented, it doesn't matter if you give up on yourself and if you quit. So,
Yeah, and one thing I always like try to show people or share with people is grit doesn't have to be very extreme. Like it doesn't have to be like if we go run 5 miles, you're struggling to be in first or whatever. Sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, if we're at work, and I see it's stressful, I just need you to like have a smile on your face or like push through a little bit longer. And it comes in all forms. It's just so easy to find and do. When people do it, sometimes I don't know if they know they're doing it to where they overthink it like before, but you sort of have to acknowledge it as well. And I think that's what some leaders can do as well, is acknowledge those who are putting in the grit, because maybe for them it's just that little bit of grit compared to somebody else who's putting in a lot. And so you have to be able to pick and choose. Like if I'm a leader or a supervisor and we're going through like I don't know, like an inspection or something like that, or getting ready to spin up for something, and I see everybody jiving, working hard, and I see Johnny over here, and I can tell he's putting in the grit, he's just crushing it. But then Timmy, maybe he's putting in the grit, but I don't know, because he's just not putting in as much as Johnny, but it's a lot for him. So we have to be able to see that and go, hey Timmy, like, dude, hey, I know you're grit, I know you're doing a great job, keep moving, you're putting in the grit. Then they're like, oh shoot, that's grit, like, oh okay, like I'll do that. I think that's how we can take this and flip it as a leader and understand, like, and I think that's a huge thing, is relationships, on knowing those people in your shop. So one of the extra
Yes.
ones I wanted to follow up with is like that relationships built off trust and care. So talk about some ways you've seen or you manage to build a relationship with your clients, because that's probably very hard to do sometimes online. But how do you see that benefit you in the long run when you have the relationships?
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of building real relationships with my clients, because at the end of the day, fitness coaching, in a sense, it is kind of transactional, right?
Yeah.
I get you in the best shape of your life,
Yep.
you pay me money. And that is what the relationship is objectively. But I don't like to run things like that, because one, they're going to be a lot more bought in to the process if they're like, this guy truly cares about me. This guy knows what my lifestyle is. This guy knows, what my relationship status is. He
Yep.
knows about my kids, all these things. And it just creates that trust, because it's like, this guy understands me. This guy knows me. He knows what I'm going through, even though he may have not gone through the exact specific thing I'm going through. He understands my situation and he has my best interest at heart. That creates the buy-in and the trust. If I have buy-in and trust from somebody, I have a whole lot more I can do with them. If I got somebody that's resistant to the process because they don't trust me, or because they feel like I don't care about who they are as a person and what's happening with their life, there's only so much I can do. And fostering that relationship is a long process, or it can be a long process. Sometimes it takes people some time to open up and be a little bit more open
Yeah.
to sharing things on their story, or letting me know about a win they had that wasn't fitness related, or sharing a mental health win with me. Like, those are things that kind of happen with time. But every single time that there's more vulnerability that's shared between the coach and client, it just builds that relationship, and it fosters a true sense of trust and buy-in from both people. I'm not going to be as bought into a client if
Yeah.
I don't trust them. Same thing, right? So, yeah, I feel like that. I feel like I answered your question there.
No, it's good. And I've seen it as I develop these relationships with the airmen on base, through our workouts I do together in my house or rucks. And I'm not in direct like supervisor role with them. And what people don't realize is when you have the relationships and trust, those people are going to work harder for you regardless of what it is. And what you get out of it, you get them to do things that are going to push them outside their comfort zone, that are going to make them grit a little bit more, because they're not doing it for just themselves. And I tell a lot of people this, dude, if you want to solve all the problems in the military, have relationships, because at the lowest level where a lot of these problems happen, if that person knew somebody else cared about them, or knew they weren't just affecting their life, like some of these errors that happen on the lowest level, they won't make the mistakes. Like maybe it's driving drunk, because maybe they're just like, they don't know anybody. They're new in town. So they get into, they go out and drink and then they come back. But if they understand in the back of their mind subconsciously, man, I just met my boss today and he told me about his kids, and this. And I'm like, man, that'd be horrible, like if I like do this and I get in trouble and then he gets in trouble. It's all these like subconscious parts in the mind with relationships that'll stop people from doing little mistakes. And it makes them care more about what they do, because it's not affecting them. It's affecting everybody in their shop. That's like one of my pet peeves, is like,
Yes.
when it comes down to these small problems, like I'll talk to some of these leaders and be like, they'll be like, Aaron Snuffy made this mistake on da-da-da. I'm like, well, did he know like why it was so important to you if he made that mistake? Because he might not know. He might just be like, oh, I put a tool in the wrong crate. Why does it matter? Like I found it the next day. but he didn't know what went on behind the scenes with leadership coming down on his boss. And that's why, dude, you can hear like, man, if you want people to win, like you have to have relationships.
Yes. I'm a big believer in having somebody else to show up for as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're just doing everything for yourself, like, dude, there's no joy in that. Like, what
Yeah.
are we doing on this planet if we're just being selfish and doing everything for ourselves? If you have somebody else to show up for, it makes a world's difference. For example, last night, had to make up half an extra cardio session because earlier this week, only did half a cardio session just due to time constraints. And I genuinely didn't want to do that extra 20 minutes, but I was thinking about my coach Dylan, because it's like, this guy cares about me. And not only do I want to show up for myself right now, but I also want to show up for him because we're a team. He takes care of me. I'm going to take care of him by showing up and being a good client for him. So it definitely, goes both ways there.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so big on it, because as a parent, right, like everything I do is impacting my kids. And so like when I started getting better shape, and I did all this, and now I'm obviously very upset, or it's like a hot button when parents like, oh, I don't have time to exercise because of kids, right? You probably, having clients, you probably get that quite a bit. And so like, that's a great reason to have those. Your kids are your relationships. So they're literally the driving factor on doing something for somebody else. It's just like, man, blows my world.
Yeah. Yeah. You always got to have something else to live for besides yourself. That's a pretty miserable existence to just be caring about yourself.
Yeah. And then not to mistake, obviously, when we talk about to be selfless, you have to be selfish. What we talked about in the beginning, being selfish, is to help others and to be there for others, but we can't just live a soul life on an individual basis. So I don't want people to like think like, oh, you guys said to be selfish before. Yes, but that's also to be there for those people in times of need. And the way I look at the selfless one is, if I'm required to do something, like let's just say hypothetically, like war breaks out in the States, right? And we're required to wear vests and bodyguard the base as people that aren't security forces because we need the people. And I'm an officer and they tell me like, hey man, dude, like it's your duty. I need you to go patrol the base, go carry this weapon. And I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, like that's too heavy for me. I can't do it. Like that is letting down everyone around me. Like it's a very extreme notion to tell people about, but it means so much because they have to understand like it can happen anytime. And that's why you have to be selfish in that area to be able to help other people.
Yes. You need to be selfish with your energy. You need to be selfish with what you're showing up for yourself. But it doesn't mean to just put yourself above everybody else. I'm just saying it starts with taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can learn that self-love and self-accountability, that's how you can bring that to other people.
Yeah. Nice. All right, let's hit the book you brought for the end. Even though you already did the Marcus Aurelius one and David Goggins Can't Hurt Me, but what's the one you had for today?
Yeah. So it looks like a lot of these things come back to books. I do enjoy reading.
Yeah.
So my book recommendation doesn't have anything to do with, uh, red pill, motivation, alpha male shit. It's none of that. It's actually quite the opposite. And this book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And this is about a little shepherd boy named Santiago. And he keeps having these dreams about a treasure that's hidden in a pyramid in Egypt. And he believes that this dream is a sign that he needs to make a change. He needs to go after it. So he starts making this journey from Spain across North Africa to find this pyramid. And along the way, he meets a bunch of different people that kind of guide his understanding of life and pursuit of your dream or your personal legend. So he meets like this weird king of Salem guy that teaches him about, what a personal legend is. And he meets this Englishman that is searching to become like an alchemist and learn alchemy knowledge. He meets this woman that he finds in a desert, falls in love with her. And then he meets the alchemist, which is a wise mentor that teaches him to listen to his heart and to read the language of the world. So through all these things, going through rivalry and doubt and danger and just the hardship of travel, Santiago learns that when you truly pursue your purpose, the universe actually kind of conspires to help you with it. When you're following your true path that you're supposed to be on, and you have that energy that you're on the right path, things are going to line up for you. It's not going to be pretty, But in the end, things are going to line up the way that they're supposed to if you're on your right path.
Yeah.
Fear of suffering is worse than suffering itself.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom comes from experience and listening to intuition, not just knowledge. And this one is, I think, so big because as men, there's like this desire to be a specific type of masculine. But I honestly think that men would be better off having a better balance of masculinity and femininity within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you think of masculinity and you think of order and discipline and priorities and getting things done. Well, on the flip side, there's also the femininity side where listening to your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
listening to the feelings in your heart, your emotions, right? I think that being a balanced man has both of those things intertwined and in a perfectly balanced way. So yeah, having that intuition, not just seeking knowledge. And then he also discovers that the treasure people are usually looking after and seeking often will lead them back to something within themselves. So I don't want to spoil the book here. He finds the treasure and learns that the treasure was actually back home the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So it was actually buried where his journey began, where he was having the dreams underneath this tree. So he goes through this whole journey, goes through all these hardships to find this treasure, and then he gets there and it's like, oh, it's like the treasure actually isn't here. It's where you started. The real treasure was going through the journey and discovering who you are and what your personal legend is.
Nice.
And dude, that book just, I'm living that. That's how I feel I'm living my life right now. I'm going to go back home one day and realize that there wasn't anything I was actually seeking. It was just the journey that I wanted to go on.
Yeah.
And I told my parents, I'm not done my journey yet. I'll come back home one day.
Nice. Yeah, and that's
Yeah. So I'm just a big fan of the book, big fan of the character and a lot of the lessons that it teaches.
nice. That's cool. That's a great one. Perfect. Yeah, the book I brought, it's called the Art of Impossible. It's basically just a book that goes into the scientific and psychological effects of how to achieve the impossible, with motivation and purpose and passion and all that stuff we talked about today. So it's just a good book. And then I'm also reading Once an Eagle, which is more of just like a military leadership sort of book. It's like super, super long, but it's one that I just read every night just to power through. But yeah, and that's why, it's great to have those things out there just to keep us grounded and keep us moving forward. And man, that's so cool. With that, I think we're just good on time. So with that, do you have any last, we'll just say 30-second shots before we call it a day?
Let me think about this. Whatever bullshit you're telling yourself is exactly the truth.
Yes.
That's it. Whatever bullshit story you're telling yourself in your head and you're replaying in your head, that is what is going to happen if you keep telling yourself that. It doesn't matter what it applies to. If you think you're a shitty Marine or a shitty airman because XYZ and whatever, that's exactly how we're going to happen. If you think that you're a person that isn't meant to be healthy and you're just fat for no reason, your genetics are the problem and you can't, and that's exactly how it's going to play out. So your belief in who you are and what your destiny is going to transpire right in front of you if you don't change the way you think about it.
Perfect. Well, with that, Hayden, my man, thanks, dude. Everybody listen, thank you. I'll put all your info in the show notes below. And until next time, man.